Welcome, everybody, to High Tales of History, a history podcast where two sisters get high and surprise the other with a hazy trip through history. I'm Laurel, the older sister.
I'm Katie, the younger sister.
Welcome to Season 6, Episode 6. If you want to keep track of total numbers, we're at Episode 108. Hey, welcome to the Smoke Circle. We're so glad you're here. Katie, how are you doing?
I'm hanging in there, sometimes by a thread, but still there. I have, what did I take earlier? Half of a super sour apple pucker, I think. So that's good. It's doing the job. And I have my tea. I have my amazing berries Irish breakfast tea that brings me such joy.
Shit, I want a cup of tea now. All right, hang on.
Right?
I'm gonna go get some tea going. But yeah, I also have an edible going. So look at us. And I'm like, bye, click. But that's the thing, folks. It's whatever you want to get your snacks, get your cuddly things, cozy up. We love hanging out with you or sitting with you in the car. We'll co-pilot. We'll backseat drive. We don't mind. We'll backseat drive.
I'm a great driver.
We'll tell you some history. We'll sit with you on your couch. You can sit with us in our smoke circle. It's whatever you want it to be. The smoke circle travels. Have history will travel with you.
Yeah. I can drive stick too, so I'm truly unstoppable.
Put Katie in any vehicle. Just let her go.
Ready.
Just see what she can do. We'll sit in the back. We'll have our snacks. It's fine.
Fighter jet.
You got this, Katie.
The spirals. Yeah. Oh, I'd have such a good time to harness the power of flight. What a glorious and wonderful feeling that must be.
Yeah. And we talked about harnessing the power of flight last week, didn't we, Katie? We didn't mean to do this, folks. We didn't mean to just tie the Tuskegee Airmen in there, as cool as they were. Bessie Coleman, Eugene Bullard, all these wonderful pilots, pioneering Black pilots who just like.
Oh, I saw Tuskegee on the way down to Louisville. We went past, there's a special Tuskegee Airmen part of the highway in Indiana.
You're right. Yeah. I forgot about
and
that.
I passed it and I was like, Tuskegee Airmen. We just did a episode about that. And Blake's like, oh, okay. Turns music up and drives on. I'm like, all right.
Sure.
We have louder than life to get to, Katie. We don't have time for your history.
Yeah.
There's always time for history, first of all.
Second of all.
That is incorrect, sir.
That is also incorrect, yeah.
It is incorrect.
I forgot they do have a memorial section of the highway for the Tuskegee Airmen. I'm sure there's other places in the country that have things like that too, but I know the one of which you speak.
I saw it and I was like, I know about them. I love when real world meets our podcast. So I'll walk past stuff and be like, oh, we did an episode about that. And then I info dump on everyone listening. I'm like, oh, sorry.
Have I got something to tell you folks?
Right?
Yeah, I do too. Or I like learning about something I've done an episode for, or you've done an episode for, we've learned about it, and then finding it tied to something else that you might not have realized before. Like there's a key person that goes across these two events or something.
Yeah.
I
have that today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
It crosses over with another one of episodes that I personally did. And I was like, I did not mean to line that up like that. I was like, but if I was paying attention and checking my dates, I'd have been like, oh, I know when that is. Yeah, I was checking them out, man. I was like, oh, yeah, 1066 checks out. Gonna have to cut that out, you savage.
Oh,
Catherine. The thing is sometimes I need fabric because my nose is too sensitive for the paper, man.
I get you a handkerchief.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Probably,
I have a Megadeth one.
If it's good for the environment and it's also good for your nose.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you put it like that.
Sorry for the weird cut there, folks. I was thinking Katie was blowing her nose on her shirt, and I was like, well, I gotta stop it here. And it turns out that she talks about she wasn't blowing her nose on her shirt.
I wasn't.
But she has. I was like, okay, great. So it's like, cut that. No one needs to see that. Watch that in action. Or what I thought was nose blowing in action. Anyway,
me and
sorry.
all of my animal magnetism.
I have no idea where that's going to cut if there's a weird skip forward. But anyway, hey, we want to let you have a little peep behind this curtain of these Wizards of Oz right here. We're like, this is what you get to see behind the curtain. No, it's cool. I'm really excited to hear what you what has been linked together. You said the year 1066. So
I did.
So I was like, okay, I'm trying to remember.
Do you remember the date that's important on 1066? Because I found it and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot about that.
I think I know. Does it start with an N, and is it N-I? Norman? No. Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. What you were just saying is right. I think we're talking about we're on the same page, but we're on separate paragraphs right now.
Okay. W-C? W the C?
Yeah, W the C for sure. But do you remember what date specifically was important to that?
I was thinking of the Norman Conquest. Did I say invasion?
But the Battle of Hastings happened on what day? This is so important to me that you know that.
Something blah, 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 1066?
October 14th of 1066.
Oh!
Yeah.
Birthday. Did you see me get hit?
I was sitting there and I was like, October 14th. I was like, wow, that date looks really familiar. And I'm just typing on and Blake's like, is that your birthday? I was like, oh yeah, it is, isn't it? I was like, wow. I was like, I feel like I don't get birthdays this year. History is happening too fast right now. It cannot possibly be October.
Yeah. Surprise.
Battle of Hastings, dude.
Battle of Hastings.
Norman Conquest. Conquest.
It's
no, that's when Comcast takes over.
I think I said N-I as in Norman invasion. So I mean,
yeah, and I was like N-I. I was like
also, I saw your confusion and I was like, I think we're on the same page but different paragraphs. Is that what you said too? Yeah. And I was like, wait, William the Conqueror. Okay.
W the C, and I was like, yeah.
So, Katie, we've spent a lot of time in World War II these last few episodes.
Yeah.
We've got a lot going on in this very specific sort of timeline and time period as well. So thank you for bringing it back to an older time here. I'm really looking forward to what you've got for us today.
The timeliness as well. We're literally within weeks. This all happens in September, October. So whoa. And I looked at it, I was like, all right, sometimes I've impressed me.
So in the time that it took for the music to happen into history time, I went and I got snacks. I put it took me a whole lot longer than 3.5 seconds.
You weren't gone that short, but okay.
There we go.
But editing. That's what she wants you to believe.
The magic of editing. I popped back. I've got my kettle started, so we're going to hear that mildly protest here in a little while. And then I've got a tea cake. Got snacks. A tea cake.
Is it what? Oh, get out of it.
Oh, it's my kettle mildly
There's
protesting.
Your kettle.
And just like that, back with a cup of tea. Just the magic of the smoke circle and also editing. Excellent. Katie, so what have you got for us today?
All right, I hope you're ready. It's going to be an exciting one. All right, strap in, everybody. We never kneel in battle before the storm of weapons and crouch behind our shields. So the noble lady told me. She told me once to carry my head always high in battle, where swords seek to shatter the skulls of doomed warriors. These are, reportedly, the final words spoken by Harold Hardrada at the Battle of Stamford Bridge. Oh, you're not reacting. You don't know that.
No, sorry. I had to put my mug down for a second. I do know of, unfortunately, Stamford Bridge is the name of the Chelsea Stadium, for one.
Oh, are you fucking kidding me?
But the Battle of Stamford Bridge, I actually don't know the history of it. I feel like we've talked about it on the show before. I wouldn't be able to be like, oh, here's all the history of it. But I do know that is a famous battle in England back in the day. Back in the way past.
The year probably 1066, huh?
Hey.
Yeah.
This year again.
Sorry, if you're a Chelsea fan.
Chelsea fans out there.
I mean, actually offense. Yes, you're wrong. But I won't be that nice. Anywho.
Stamford Bridge.
The Battle of Stamford Bridge, which now falls to ashes in my mouth. It's considered the death of the last king of the Viking Age and the death of the Age of Vikings itself, really. This is going to shock you all. In the year 1066.
What? How do we know this year? So many times we've heard this year today.
I feel like somebody just mentioned that. So 1066, it's not just a year, it's a crisis, y'all. Chaos. Cats and dogs living together. So at this time, it's a three-sided struggle for England. The beginning of our drama it takes place on September 25th. So is here we find it's intense. It was described as the extraordinary forced march in English military history. Well, we'll get into it later, but talk about cracking the whip. You know that whole scene, and I'm going there. Everybody, are you ready? In Lord of the Rings.
Here it comes, yeah.
Laura's like, oh, I don't even have to guess. I know.
Here it comes.
Yeah, when they're like, they run as if the very whips of their masters were behind them. England is the Urukai here. I'm sad to say. I know you thought it'd go the other way. It does for a little bit, and then it doesn't. But they're definitely, yeah.
What's great is the orcs and the Urukai. Well, yeah, the Urukai. They all have these Cockney accents too.
Yeah, they do.
The
which is kind of
accents. I won't be missing a leg. He just need his legs. It's in it, right?
What about his legs? I don't need those.
Yeah. Nasty little face. Stop licking, bro.
I know, and you're like, why is everything wet? What are you, a public restroom? Handkerchief, please.
Yeah, wipe that all down. Stop.
Wipe it down. Why are you so moist? Stop it. So at this point, we have two warrior kings coming up to meet in a duel to the death kind of thing. It's very exciting. I know, right? I'm gonna set the tone. It is a bougie thing. I was telling Laurel before we started, it was actually a song that introduced this to me by a band that would not surprise anybody if I said who it was, but Viking themes are popular for them, but this one is particular, and it's probably my favorite album by them. It's the Berserker album. That'll be important at some point. And it's a good one. I'm telling you, you gotta give it a listen. Raven's Flight, Laurel. Oof. When I tell you, you will run into battle. You don't know what for, but you're like, I'm there.
I'm ready for this battle. Did you say what the band was, or is that
it's Amon Amarth.
Okay,
I don't think I did,
but you did.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think you said it. So.
It's Amon Amarth.
And I know. What does that mean, Katie?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. It's Numerian for Mount Doom. They're a Lord of the Rings band.
There it is. Just, you know what? That was going to serve, and then let you have
you did.
Whole moment. Urukai, Cockney accents, Mount Doom. We got it.
Mount Doom.
Let this all.
Right. And then ironically, I think they never sing about it. But yeah. Was introduced to me off the Berserker album. It's called The Battle of Stamford Bridge. So, there you go. So, it is here in the cold, wet Yorkshire countryside. All of England is cold and wet. Don't let them fool you. That the Viking Age, in an era of 4 centuries, comes to an end. The story of the Battle of Stamford Bridge comes on January 5th of 1066 with the death of the childless King Edward the Confessor.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. You're going to recognize a lot of these names. Anytime I was doing this, I was like, I've literally done the history completely around this event before, but never this one. I was like, well, it is time.
I like that. That was what we were talking about naturally at the beginning of the episode of I love when you see history in life. It's yeah. And I'm like, I love when I'm doing, I'm hearing a story or something else and someone's tied to it. And I'm like, whoa, this is why I dorkily call it the history tapestry, because all these different events or people, there's different things that are attached. And then it's not just one small piece of the picture. You're seeing a greater
how it spiderwebs out.
All it goes together, because history it's all interwoven, folks. And something that it's like the butterfly effect sort of thing. In the sense of what one thing might have happened in the past might have triggered an event later down the road, or you're like, wow.
Well, and that's what this story is actually all about, because if this hadn't happened, the other event would not have gone that way.
Folks,
so you're getting everything you asked for today, basically.
You're getting psychic historians. You're getting
hell yeah.
Getting a psychic experience here. You get got some tea.
I'm here for you.
We're stoned as
you have the most magnificent mug.
You like that? That's it. I gotta. Oh, that's my lipstick on there too. Sorry So look at that. Isn't that cute? I got
Yeah.
a matching set at the thrift store recently.
Fantastic. Okay, so the death of Edward the Confessor. I feel like it kind of has to be said that way, so you're going to hear it that way every time. So he left behind a political vacuum. So there's 3 primary contenders to the throne, each with the legitimate claim, which i.e. means the power to enforce it, right? Let's just be clear here.
Yeah.
The first is Harold Godwinson, the Earl of Wessex. He was an Englishman, arguably the most powerful man in the kingdom, elected by King, Witten Nagmot, the Council of English Nobles. Wittenagmo. Anyway, that guy doesn't matter to our story, so I'm just gonna
Get
say
him
it.
out of here. Who cares?
Yeah,
No, just kidding.
he literally has nothing to do with the rest of the story. We're talking about Vikings. So, had the crown, faced opposition from every angle. The second threat, poised from the French coast, was William, the Duke of Normandy. There's an episode about him.
W the C.
W the C.
That's what I call him now. W the C.
It's better than what they called him back then. So, yeah.
Cunt.
What did you say?
Yeah. Cunt. Sorry. Some people really, really hate that word. I need to know.
W the C. William the Cunt. Okay.
Oh, goodness.
That was a moment of magic. I'm sorry.
Sorry, folks. If that word is particularly offensive to you. Too fucking bad. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. This edibles got me silly. No, I do understand that that's like a particularly tough one for people. So it's cool. Sorry about that. I apologize.
They did probably call him that, though. So you were not historically inaccurate. So I'm going to come to your defense and your aid. And it was right. So he claimed that Edward had promised him the throne years earlier, which actually was a thing. Like, go back and listen to my episode on W the C.
Yeah. You know what? It's actually one of our most popular episodes. It's within our top 10.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's also paired with history's greatest love stories, too. So.
Oh, that's why.
You get that, and then you get William the Conqueror, just like Godzilla and King Kong. So if you're like, I can't handle this lovey-dovey stuff, you're like, I'm going to get for William the Conqueror. If you're like.
That's where I found out that Napoleon likes unwashed women.
Those are some filthy ass letters.
I tell you, he was a
literally.
That's good.
So
gross.
No. Yeah, no, he was all about Josephine. Not. He's like, you just.
I want you to ferment, darling. Okay. William, Duke of Normandy, W the C, organized a massive invasion force, a risk that Harold Godwinson was fully aware of, and he kept his military strength perpetually tied down south, right? Because they're down here, and William's over there, and they're, well, I'm sure Laurel's going to give you a real map right now, but down here, yeah, we got to be ready. You never know when that sea is going to come around.
Yeah. So if anyone's not sure where Normandy is in the sense, like, that is France. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's
because it's that whole coastal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. They had that one, ironically enough, by a Viking, because he got pissed off that good old Olaf the Christian was like, you're going to do things my way. And he was like, how about you literally eat my ass? And they sailed off in his little Viking rage, and he went and he conquered that portion of France. And they were like, you know what? Why don't you take that land? You stay there. You will have Normandy.
That's yours.
And we will be over here in France. And he was like, all right, I'm into it. And settled. And there you go. And W the C is a direct descendant of that line. The line of Rollo. Those of you who have seen the History Channel's Vikings TV show would know Rollo. He did not occur at the same time as Ragnar Lothbrok. That is not true. Shaggy Breeches died in England well before that. Rollo was obviously closer to this time.
The 1066 times.
Yeah, I think he was
Thereabout.
about 50 years before it or so.
Okay.
But yes, he was not. Ragnar Lodbrok was in the 800s, end of the 800s,
Okay.
early 900s. And what were his dying words? Lo, how the piggies would squeal if they knew how the old boar grunted. Which means, when my kids find out what you fucking did to me, you're fucked. And indeed, the great heathen army swept down upon England, and they were indeed fucked. 5 ways to Sunday.
Wow.
Did you not know that? Did I not say
No,
that?
that's no. I mean, you might have. I don't
Oh,
remember all 108
also,
episodes exactly, but
yeah, there are a lot of them. And many of them have visited Norway, so you're like, I don't know.
yeah. We've been on a lot of different places. We've been a lot of
We
different
have gone a
places.
lot of places. But
Mhm.
yes, isn't that, and I mean, were those really his last words? Those are his last words that were written down, you know?
Right.
I'd like to think that he, if you read the sagas, you understand that the people of this age had such a dark, ironic humor that you almost just can't help but appreciate. So not only was it kind of a joke because he wasn't going to beg for his life, because he knew he was fucked, it was also a threat. And that's true.
Yeah.
You have Bjorn Ironside, Ivar the Boneless, Sigurd the Snake Eye, and there's one more whose name escapes me. But that was pretty good off the cuff. And
Yeah.
they were the conquering heathen army. Yeah, so. And they
Holy shit.
came and brought England to its knees. Yeah, good times. So this is a little bit after that. And
Okay. Yeah. I was like, where are we at in the story now? Okay.
yeah, so we have 3 contenders for the throne. We have the Harold Godwinson, who's like a strong English, well, Saxon king, we'll say. William W. the C., Duke of Normandy. And the third contender from the far north, who struck first, Harold Hardrada, the King of Norway.
Harold Hardrada, the King of Norway.
Yeah, you got
I
it.
was trying to do like a little bit of
I
like
think it's like Hardrada, I believe
okay.
is how you say his name, but you get the idea.
Yeah, I would not trust the way I said it. I was trying to do a little bit of a Knight's Tale for him. I wanted to be like,
Oh, I was into it. No, I was
yeah.
right there. Oh, Heath Ledger all day. Oh, I don't care how
Hmm.
historically inaccurate that movie is. It warms my heart. Harold Hardrada was arguably the most fearsome warrior king of the entire Viking Age. The name Hardrada means hard ruler, and he lived up to it.
Yeah.
As chronicled in the sagas, Hardrada's life was an odyssey, a warrior who was exiled from Norway, fought as a general in Kyiv and Rus, and served as a commander of the Varangian Guard in Constantinople. Have we ever gone over that? That's coming soon. Maybe not next, because I don't necessarily like to link them up so close, but we have to go over the Varangian Guard because holy shit. Yeah, the Vikings, well, who we call the Viking people, the Scandinavian people of the Viking Age is how I prefer to think of them because Viking was actually a verb back in the day, and to go Viking was to raid and pillage and conquer and, conquest out on your little boat.
Olga
But
of
they made it.
Kiev, who I did a Halloween episode on, she would
Yeah,
have been a part of that
there you
later,
go.
or indirectly, but yes.
Yes.
Do you know
Well,
who that is?
it sounds familiar. I
Okay.
definitely know the name without a doubt.
Y'all. Olga of Kiev, or Kyiv, I'm sorry. That's a whole story.
Yeah.
That's a whole woman and a half right there
Yeah.
of yeah.
But look how far
Going
the
on over there.
reach of the Scandinavians went, all the
Mhm.
way down to Constantinople, which was the Byzantine Empire's elite Norse-dominated bodyguard.
Yeah.
I'll give them their own episode one day. I kind of forgot that I
Shit,
hadn't
that's crazy.
because we have yeah, but like all the way down there, and like all the
Yeah.
way out through. They went through Russia and all that. Like they've been everywhere. They were the first Europeans to make it to North America. Nobody talks about that. They got here, it would have been up by, so think North Canada, north of Newfoundland. It would have been, it was on the mainland, and they found like little huts that they had built themselves, using wood and then mudding everything. Like, they either died, which I highly doubt, were killed off by the Inuit tribes that were there, or like left and went back, which is probably more likely. So, Harold served as a commander of that Varangian guard. Just so you're all listening, that like how much this guy did. He was the general, and that the Kyivian, it's Ru, right? Rus? Okay.
Yeah, like Bruce is how I understood it to be.
Gotcha. So he had seen battle on 3 continents and returned to claim his ancestral Viking right to England. Because remember, they are all lusting after Northumbria, even though Ireland's right next door and has better fields, in my opinion. What the hell do I know? Northumbria cannot be that pretty. Maybe it's
got something going for it. They all wanted to be there.
It had to be that one.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Ireland's like, no, you can have it. That's fine. You can stay over,
right
over there. You're good.
Well, Dublin was settled by a Viking settlement. So also did a story about that, which links into all of this. So
many episodes to share.
Yeah, so many episodes. That's why when I was doing this, I was like, oh yeah, I know that and that and that. And it just kept spiderwebbing out. And I was like, wow, I've done the history literally all around this event. Harold's claim, however flimsy, was bolstered by an English trader, Tostig Godwinson. Tostig was Harold's own brother. Yeah, the first Harold, not the Scandinavian one. This is the English Harold. Which, by the way, they are spelled differently. Our Harold of hailing from Norway is Harald, and this Harold is Harold, so O-L-D as opposed to A-L-D. Oh. Not that that makes much of a difference to you unless I enunciate that, so. Harold's own brother had been exiled from his earldom of Northumbria. There it is. And sought vengeance, driven by bitterness and greed, on a dark, stormy night. No, I'm just kidding. Sorry. Tostig pledged his allegiance to Harald, Hardrada, and guided the Norwegian fleet to the English coast. In early September, Hardrada and Tostig sailed a fleet of 300 ships and an army of perhaps 10,000 men up the river. Is it Humber or Humber? Humber. It's spelled like Humber, but I bet you it's Humber.
Yeah, probably.
Yes. That river. It was not a raid. It was a full-scale invasion aimed at conquest. Well, duh. There's a power vacuum. That's what we're all here for. Harold Godwinson, the English Harold, meanwhile, was waiting for William in the south. His defenses were stretched thin. That's a problem, because when you split your forces, each side is weaker, than the whole. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. But what are you supposed to do in that case, So William is in the south. The invasion in the north caught him strategically off balance. Harold, Hardrada, and Tostig making landfall quickly proved the sheer terror of their force. It's the Norsemen. Of course they did. They came in probably like a hurricane would be my guess. On September 20th of 1066, just 5 days before Stamford Bridge, they met the combined English forces of the northern earls Edwin of Mercia and Morcar of Northumbria at the Battle of Fulford. The battle was catastrophic for the English. The northern army shattered, and the great northern city, York, immediately surrendered to the Norwegians, agreeing to give aid, hostages, and supplies. Please don't kill us. Just take what you need. Well, yeah. They were conquerors. As exciting as the Viking Age is to look at, there's some things that, we can look at and recognize as, maybe that wasn't so great. This would be one of those times. So, for Harold, Hardrada was the crowning moment of a lifetime of warfare. He had achieved what many of his ancestors, including the legendary Knut, we talk about Knut, that's Knut, he had done before him, conquered the north. The Viking victory was absolute. I hope you're all getting super excited about this.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, nice job, everybody. I'm the guy in the back. Yeah, nice work. Good job,
super glad I didn't have to do much.
I'll
just waterproof the boats.
Yep. Hooray.
So confident in their victory, the Norse army withdrew 10 miles east of York to the small settlement of Stamford Bridge. This is where the river Derwent, D-E-R-W-E-N-T, It was crossed by a wooden bridge, right? Little river, out in the countryside, has a wooden bridge. There you go. They were not anticipating further resistance. They're expecting hostages and supplies from York. So they're having a little rest-a-roo, is kind of what's happening. They're chilling.
Get the feeling this is going to get upset.
Hang in there. It's, well, yeah. So the news reaches King Harold, the English one of Godwinson, in London, was not of surrender but of fury. Harold was not just king, he was a warrior of legendary energy. Apparently, he was quite the badass. He made the military decision that he's not going to wait, he's not going to hesitate. We're out. Autobots, roll out. He ordered one of the most remarkable forced marches in medieval military history. His profession... Yes?
Question, why would they call it a forced march?
I don't think they were allowed to, like, stop. Like...
Oh, I see what you're saying. I see. They're like, we're going to march until we get to our destination. That's
pretty much. So from London to York, how far is that? Like, hold on, I'll tell you.
Whoa, I mean, yeah, York is up in the north of England and London is in the south. I mean, that's...
Yeah, London's all the way in the south.
Until... Well, I don't feel like that's a great idea.
By foot, hold on, it would take 3 days. 197 miles.
Yeah, I
think
love that.
This is look, 185 is what I have in here. So close.
Okay, sorry. So what is that in miles and what is that in kilometers, please, for our international listeners?
Okay, so I'm actually going to break it down for you here, but in kilometers, it's 297 kilometers.
Sounds like a lot of kilometers to be doing.
It's a lot of It's a lot of miles and a lot of kilometers. Either way you slice it, you have to do it on foot.
It's so many football fields. It's so many blue whales lengths.
It's literally from the top of England to the bottom.
Yeah.
Yeah, like close to the bottom. But yeah, it's a long way. Like he's like, that's it. Autobots roll out. We're going all the way up.
Sorry, no, I get his drive, and look, I'm sure that like at the end
well, hang in there.
Find out that it works out for him or something. I don't know, but like I feel like military tactician me.
It might not. You never know. You gotta listen.
Your troop. Okay, you're right. You know what? Let me sit down on my magic carpet square again.
It's not a straight line in the story. It's gonna take some curves, and I think you'll, as with. Like women, curves are preferred. So like it keeps it.
Throw me some curves, Katie. Let's get some
coming at you.
Curves in here. We're going to leave those sad sacks on their forced march across the country, and we're going to take a little break. We'll meet up with those guys at Stamford Bridge. Let them get the blisters. Have you been having fun with us so far? We really hope so. If you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by and giving us a listen. We know there are literally thousands and thousands of podcasts to choose from, so we're happy you're on our hazy history quest with us. Make sure you give us a follow or subscribe depending on what platform you're listening on. Like and leave a comment on what was your favorite thing you learned with us or a topic you'd love to hear about in the Smoke Circle sometime. We love hearing from you. And we really love your ratings and reviews. It's seriously one of the best ways for the show to grow and get pushed out by the algorithm gods. And if you have been listening for a while and want to support us in an even bigger and direct way, we have a Patreon that we call the Best Buds Club. Get it? And that is where our bonus episodes, extra content, historical movie watches, and more can be found. You can support us each month and get early access to episodes and all the bonus half-baked episodes for as little as a medium latte a month. Thank you for helping us keep the lava lamps on in the Smoke Circle and help us offset the costs of running the show. Also, give us a follow on Instagram or TikTok. All of our Patreon and social media accounts are directly linked in the show notes below. All right, what do you say we see how far these guys have gotten on with their march? And with that, let's puff pass it on to part 2.
So he's got his corps of housecarls, the best soldiers in England, his levy of troops, and they marched nonstop from London to Tadcaster. nearly 185 miles in just 4 days. So they did have an extra day. So it would take 3 if you went nonstop by Google standards. So 4 days, that is fair. Like now
Okay.
that I've looked at it in modern terms till there, I'm like, all right, so think about that. 185 miles on foot in 4 days. That's close to 50 miles a day, first of all, fully armored. And armed. You got to carry your shit with you. It speaks to Harold's desperation, his leadership, and the discipline of his army. The incredible speed was Harold's masterstroke. It was the entire foundation of the victory to come. Hardrada had defeated local forces, but he had failed to account for the king himself, who appeared seemingly out of nowhere. 4 days is not a lot of time. In, weeks is what you would expect. A week and days like that. Like, shit didn't travel that fast back then, right? So in the people of the day's ability to reason, they'd be like, holy shit, like we just got camp set up. Like, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
So he was called an apparition of speed and rage. So Harold is versing Harold. On the morning of September 25th, Harold, the English Harold, his army burst into York, found that the city had surrendered, and immediately moved to the countryside, right? Where are they? Just marching around. Where are they? That's how I imagine it anyway,
Yeah.
so hopefully you all saw that moment with me. The Vikings at Stamford Bridge were resting and celebrating, unprepared. The day was warm. They left their chainmail and heavy armor at their ships, which was on the coast, miles away on the river Ouse? I thought it was Derwent, but anywho. So assuming they only had to deal with clerks and local officials delivering supplies. What an oversight. It was the failure of them, and it cost them the battle and their king. As the English army approached the bridge, Hardrada's men were scattered across the riverbanks, relaxing. It was a scorching summer day, which amplified their tactical blunder of leaving their armor behind. The first of the Norwegians saw of the English army was a glint of steel and raised banners. Holy fuck. You're like, man. Oh no.
Yeah, these guys are thinking they're getting like a beach day. They're hanging out. They're like, get all the armor off. Let's get out in the sun. Like, let's splish splash about. And then meanwhile, up on the hill.
And it's hot. I
don't know.
It's hot. I don't know if it gets that hot in Norway. Norway's pretty far north.
They're probably like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Got the sunscreen. I
Did
do.
They have
I got
sunscreen
the beach.
Back in the
I got the beach towels and the beach ball. Oh, set up a net. Let's play volleyball. They have their own Viking shirtless volleyball scene out there.
Oh, those guys look like the techno Viking from YouTube days of old. That man's amazing.
The English are up on the hill being like,
I have walked how many miles? How many kilometers in the last however many days? Listen, assholes. Oh. So Harold Hardrada, realizing the magnitude of his error, frantically rallied his men and sent a detachment to hold the narrow bridge while the main force organized. Here you go, ready? In this moment of pure, raw drama, the legendary, almost unbelievable tale of a single Norwegian warrior who held the bridge. Now, before we go on, let's talk about berserkers. Gotta touch on it real quick. What do we know about them? What most people would know, berserkers are legendary Nordic warriors. They're renowned for entering a frenzy, creating the berserker battle rage, right, during battle. They fought, and, this is how they, in accounts of them, they were the scariest thing on the battlefield. Ferocious, uncontrolled rage. They're fearless. They're numb to pain. They don't go down during it. They died like Boromir, going down in the battle. Boromir.
Are they on drugs or just straight up adrenaline?
Well, so historical evidence exists, and a lot comes from the sagas, leading to speculation about the causes of their battle rage, such as ritualistic herbs or alcohol, even certain health conditions. And they were believed, it says believed to, but I'm pretty sure we know at this point, they wore animal skins like bear or wolf hides. So this was a thing back in human history, not just these guys, human history, where when you would consume parts of the animal, that animal would become a part of you. So oftentimes, these bear or wolf hides, you would hunt the animal and consume it and take the hide. You would then you would become that animal, right? Almost like a werewolf. There is even a tale of the were-bear, which is a glorious saga tale that maybe one day we'll go over. It's a good story. It's kind of a sad story. It doesn't have a great ending, but
Would that be like a good half-baked for Halloween time?
sure,
Like
that
this
would be a
month?
great one.
Okay, let's do it.
Yeah. So you have to understand that for people living in this time, that was like a logical conclusion because magic was real. Berserkers, yes, Laurel. They do think that, sure, at some point, it was probably, I'm gonna say, based upon what I know about people today, everybody probably got there in their own way. And I know that sounds like such a stupid thing to say, but like it's usually the most obvious answer, even if that sounds a little silly. Maybe
Okay.
some dudes did do drugs and mushrooms. There are rituals where people would take like hallucinogenic things to, get into that state of mind, stuff like that. So who's to say that they didn't? I'm sure some dudes just had some really bad anger issues and were just like, but this is also the culture where to be that warrior was an esteemed thing. To be that mighty and to be that fearless, you would eventually reach the ultimate goal of Valhalla, right? So I've really come to realize that when you look at things in the context of the people like at the time, like what was their normal, how did they perceive the world, through what filters, it usually answers a lot of those questions. In my opinion, yeah, some of them did. Of course they did. Why not? Did some of them just get that, like, groupthink is a powerful thing. So if you're in a whole group performing your ritual the night before and you guys
Yeah.
just run in, I would love to do a movie watching of The Northmen with you by Robert Eggers. It is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen put together. It's fantastic, and it deals with a lot of historical accounts of people during the Viking Age, right? You're literally in the Iceland sagas at that point. Oh my God, beautiful representation. And they hit on a lot of stuff that is spoken about in the sagas and counted as fact, the berserkers being one of them. And I really love the way they were portrayed here. It's really cool. So, the concept of berserker dates back to at least the Bronze Age. So we're talking 3000 BCE. Ancient war bands from the Eurasian steppe engaged in ritual transformations into animal spirits and ecstatic battle states as a part of their initiation rites, right? So everybody hang in there with me. There's a lot of ground to cover here in a short amount of time about this topic. The names and specific forms evolved of this practice, right? The core practice of the warriors embracing animal frenzy, becoming part of that. It's seen in historical accounts from the Roman period, so we're talking 1st century CE. Similar warriors are described by the historian Tacitus. The term berserker is in written sources from the late 9th century, which talk about Viking warriors, but think about it. You have Spartans. Spartans engaged in practices like this. Like, it's all across human history. Now, there's something that I'm always very careful of. I never want it to enter into the whole, well, this all came from Indo-European ancestry, blah, blah, blah. Because a lot of times that talk tends to lead towards, how would you say it? Race purity talk. And I don't mean it like that, but what I
Yeah.
mean is everybody traveled around at this time. They came into contact with each other, stuff rubs off, And honestly, just looking at it from terms of survival, no matter which people you are, the Mongolians, the Romans, the Germanic tribes, the Eurasian steppe tribes, the Norse tribes, those would have been good ways to bring everybody together in a pack, animal-like, right? And keep you safe, defend your territory, find resources, like we're talking like out of the Neolithic age. Like, we didn't have a whole lot. We had like stone weapons, stone tools. Like, you depended upon your small little tribe to survive, and that he who was the mightiest survived those days. So there is all that being said, they talk about back in the about 3000 BCE, the Curios. They're proposed by scholars to explain the historical spread of the Indo-European languages through raiding war bands of young men, blah, 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 temporary banished from their tribes. There's a whole, like, theoretical to it. There's no direct evidence for it, though. I'm just going to say it to you. Now, two things. One, there's no direct evidence for it. Let's just say that. Two, could it have been true? Sure, could have been. Like, again, if you look at it from a survival aspect, it makes sense. But they did say that there are parts of like linguistics and mythology and the existence of all the similar traditions across cultures that support that. Maybe. Who knows? We'll never know for sure because unfortunately stuff like that, it wasn't really written down. We don't really have a way to fact check that against something, like against a tangible source, right? They do talk about how, remnants of those Curios traditions are seen in later myths like the Wild Hunt, the Germanic Wild Hunt, which links up with Odin. But that would make sense, right? These young males like running wild and rampant. Basically, they were saying they would go out, conquer other tribes, take resources, women, and come back. Only if you came back as a victor were you allowed back at all. And that's how they're saying those Indo-European tribes of the steppe, the Eurasian steppe, is how they survived. Again, sure, I could see it. We don't, again, have a lot of evidence for it, but a lot of cultures, like I said, had similar stuff like that, which makes me believe that from a survival standpoint, it was just a common thing that occurred with people.
Okay.
Take that as you will, everyone. So, berserkers, right? They are in a class of their own. This one Norse giant stands armed with an axe, stood in the center of the narrow wooden span, and held the English army at bay. It is said that he killed at least 40 Englishmen, which is still a lot, people, acting as a one-man bottleneck, the true final example of Viking berserker courage. He fought, and he bought his comrades precious time, and time was not enough. The English, the only way they got past this guy, by the way, was through deceit, clever thinking, clever strategy. The English, unable to cross, eventually resorted to a desperate, clever measure. They floated a barrel under the bridge with a man clinging to it, and he used a spear and went through the bridge to take the Viking and killed him. With that lone defender finally removed, Harold, the English one, Godwinson's army poured across the bridge, and the second phase of the battle began. The Norse army by this time had formed a skjaldborg, a shield wall, a defensive formation for which the Vikings were famous. It was comprised of men wearing tunics, not chainmail. They still didn't have time to run to the boats and get that. They just had time to get together.
Okay.
This guy killed 40 people. He probably bought them 15 or 20 minutes. Maybe.
This guy sounds like, when you're watching a movie and there's those, always there's the improbable battle scene of like the one lone person. Just like,
yeah, that's this guy.
In a circle.
Stories like that exist because of this
his
guy.
Eyes are all wild because he's like, I'm going to get you all.
This man right here.
Mm-hmm.
So the shield wall, it's a soft wall against heavily armored, highly motivated English army. Into the fray rode Harald Hardrada himself. He was described as standing head and shoulders above his men, an imposing figure of Viking mythology. Before the final clash, King Harold Godwinson offered a last-minute chance at peace to his brother, Tostig. Harold rode forward, shouting to Tostig, offering him back his earldom. Tostig's response was immediate and fatal. He asked what Harold would offer his ally, Harald Hardrada. Harold Godwinson, standing before the man who had ravaged his kingdom, reportedly replied, 7 feet of English ground, or as much as he is taller than other men. The negotiations were over.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. The battle that followed was characterized by extraordinary ferocity. The lack of armor meant that every blow struck true. The English shield wall met the Norwegian shield wall. The fight was savage, fueled by desperation on the north side and vengeance on the English. I almost said east. Hardrada fought with the desperate courage of a man who knows his fate. According to the sagas, he eventually fell, struck through the throat by an arrow. The last great Viking king, the last of his kind, had fallen. Tostig Godwinson, consumed by his treachery, rage, took command. He's quickly followed by a desperate reinforcement from the Norse ships. I need to stop putting directions in here. There are never directions in here. Anyway, men who had run the 10 miles back were now exhausted, armorless, and throwing themselves into the fight. But the death of Hardrada, and then soon after the fall of Tostig, broke the Norwegian spirit. The shield wall dissolved, and the Norse army broke into a rout. So many Norwegians were slain that, as the legend says, only 24 of the 300 ships that sailed to England were needed to carry the survivors home. Yeah.
You said 24 out of 300?
Yeah.
Ooh.
They got routed. The Viking Age in England was over. But I promise twists and turns here.
Twists and turns.
The victory, it was a victory, but it came at a catastrophic cost. Harold's army was not annihilated, but it was exhausted. It had just fought a brutal hand-to-hand struggle against a desperate army at the end of a 185-mile forced march. 2 days later, on September 27th, William of Normandy finally launched his invasion, landing his forces unopposed Pevensey Bay in the south. And then, on October 14th, King Harold and his men would meet William at the Battle of Hastings, physically exhausted. And it led directly to the death of Harold and the end of Anglo-Saxon England, and the fatal footnote of the Viking Age.
Wow. Okay, that all makes sense. Holy shit! So the moment they left that southern coast open, or at least less defended, by taking their army up there to get rid of the Vikings,
completely unopposed. There was no army.
William's like, all right,
the whole army.
Let's go. Let's row across this channel here. And it's like, right, here we go. Norman Conquest and the start of, well,
so he might not have won the Battle of Hastings had Harold Hardrada. And also, why do we not talk about the lone berserker at Stamford Bridge? What a hero. Right. Maybe not to the English, but
well, yeah,
I think anyone should be admired for that feat in battle.
Do you think that's real, or do you think that is a symbol? Okay.
I think it's definitely real. 40 men, that's a doable number. 200, I'd be like, okay, like, hold on here. Like, I think we're getting a little out of 40 men? Yeah. And knowing what I know of rites of passage for berserkers and training that they went through and practices that they upheld, and knowing what I know about what was valued in the Scandinavian people's culture at the time, he would sit, that man alone, especially if you know you're going to die, what have you to lose? You might as well, like, it's exactly like King Theoden said, if my men ride to their deaths, I would have them make such an end. It's exactly that. Tolkien pulls from Norse mythology and the sagas all the time. It's not an accident. It's not a mistake. It matters, because those exact attitudes, those exact, like, everything that, feeds a lot of the characters of Lord of the Rings are all saga and Norse informed. Mm-hmm. So it's not an accident. King Theoden himself probably also would have been, a berserker of his time, we might say. But yeah.
Okay.
When things, it doesn't happen by accident. But yeah, so there you go. The Battle of Stamford Bridge. Do I believe it? I definitely believe it. Personally.
Okay. As it's written?
I think drama is always added to a good story. Mm-hmm. I think because this stuff wasn't written down until Snorri Sturluson. He was in Iceland hundreds of years later. But I also know that the people who kept their history via oral tradition, I know that was important to them. I know their memories were good because it was valued to be good. You know what I mean? That's how we kept, all of us across history, that's how we kept it. Mm-hmm. Writing wasn't always around. Yeah. And, do I think there's embellishment? Absolutely. Of course there is. Mm-hmm. wouldn't make a very good story otherwise. Those poems and stuff that were said, maybe. In my sources, there is an old Englishman who's a professor of somewhere. He took these old Norse sagas and translated them to English. He's one of those guys. And yep, he has he hits 5 big moments in like Viking history, if you want to call it that. Scandinavian history of the Viking Age. It's cool to hear him talk about that. And he says, were these probably, Ragnar's last words? Maybe not, but it makes a good story, which means they can motivate everybody to bring the armies over to invade England. Did his sons want vengeance for their father's death, though? Yeah, absolutely. Was it quite as dramatic as that? We'll never know. But if I'm ever going down, I'm going to make sure I make it dramatic as hell. I'm going to yell some last words and be like, yeah, write that down. Takes an arrow to the throat. But all sources agree that he did indeed take an arrow to the throat.
Yeah. Ouch.
Yeah. Well, I mean, kind of a dramatic way to be struck down. Makes me think you probably don't believe it, is what I'm understanding.
No, I'm just being a thorn in your side. No, I think when we look at older histories, no matter where they're coming from, I think that's part of just what happens with oral history, or with like, especially like the sagas. There's a lot of
embellishment.
Yeah, there's the mythology that's infused in with from the culture and stuff like that, and specifically looking at the sagas. But I think that's something that you'll see happen across.
I think it's usually
culture,
pretty easy to pick out too. And that's what the guy was saying. He's like, you can almost visually see in their writings when they're talking about like poetic mythology and when they switch to like history. But I agree with you. I do think embellishment happens. Of course it does. How often do you hear people do it now?
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah. It happens. Still a good story.
No, totally. It's good. Yeah, just to point out that, like, yeah, maybe things aren't always like people read that and be like, oh my gosh, that's what happened. But you have to, it's not,
You have to look at these historical, like I said, you have to be able to connect it to tangible evidence of the time. And that's where a lot of these things fall short. Well, I read about it. Well, you might have. But that doesn't necessarily mean it was true,
Yeah. That's great. And that's really tied a lot of threads together and pulled a bunch of different stories in and attached to various episodes. That's always good when that happens. So it's good. Thank you, Katie.
You're welcome. Hopefully you enjoyed our conquest. It was not a tale of victory on our side, however.
Yeah, I suppose someone's got to lose, I guess. So it just depends on what side you're rooting for, I guess. But no, thank you, Katie, for bringing that history to the Smoke Circle today and tying everything all together from past episodes for yourself there.
Yeah.
Woo! All right. There's another episode in the books. It's episode 6, season 6. They're episode 108. We're going to be back again in a couple of weeks with episode 109. Episode 7 out of 10 for season 6. So in between now and then, please make sure that you're following us and, like the show, follow the show, but also following on Instagram at High Tales of History or on TikTok at High Tales of History Pod. So our social media, we have the Best Buds Club. You can get some extra content over there. So everything's all linked in the show notes, along with some of the episodes that we talked about today too. So if you're like, I want to know more about that, it's in the show notes. Just get on down there, dude. Just get in, dig around, have a little look, click on some things that look interesting.
On this one.
Katie's got all of her sources down there too. So if you want to dig deeper into those sort of sources too, we've got those up.
I'll have you put the one YouTube one aside so it's easy for people to get to.
Mentioned in the story.
Fascinating. Yeah, fascinating. Cool. I encourage you to look at it. It was, and he's standing there on a brisk fall day with his hands in his pockets telling us about old Viking history. He goes, as he's like, I had quite a sense of humor, don't you know? And like, yeah, he's a professor.
Oh, cute.
At a college,
cute, cool. I mean,
all of the above. Vikings could be cute.
That's awesome. And we'll put those in the show notes, put the under mentioned in the video or mentioned in the story. And we'll be back again in a couple weeks. In the meantime, folks, Get money, get high, give love, and
man, if it is to be your end, would you make such an end? I've got to say it, man. King Theoden.
bye, everybody.
Bye.